What's up, everybody? It's your girl Kelsee Briana J, and I just wanted to take a second to tell everyone happy holidays. I hope that you all are having an amazing time, being able to spend time with the ones that you love, and just being able to just really relax and take in the fact that we are headed into a brand new decade. The 2010s are about to be a thing of the past, and that really blows my mind because they just went by so fast. So I wanted to do this video to take a look back at some of the products and some of the trends that really defined this decade. And I feel like this decade belongs somewhat to me because I started off in this decade as a teenager. So I really grew up in the 2010s. So this is the first decade where I really remember everything. I participated in everything, and I was on Instagram trying to be a baddie, posting with my eyebrows on fleek, trying to get the duck lips right. So I just really thought it would be fun to do this video to just look back at some of the most iconic products that defined this decade, and these products set the precedence for the trends and the products that we are seeing being released right now. So in no particular order, I just want to jump into it. Let's take a walk back down memory lane and let's remember everything as we head into the new decade, the 2020s. Woo! Let's start off by talking about the biggest and most influential product and trend type of the 2010s, and that is highlighter. Yes, highlighter was the biggest thing that hit the 2010s. Everybody wanted to be glowing to the high heavens, highlighter on fleek. My highlighter shines so bright you don't need a flashlight to see me in the dark. My highlighter is so bright, it's shining brighter than your future. Yes, highlighter. And I think that the highlighter craze started with the Becca Opal discovery by Jaclyn Hill. Once she started talking about those highlighters, it was like the highlighter craze grew and it just turned into this big beast that everybody was highlighter obsessed. Everybody had a highlighter. Every brand had variations of highlighters, but some of the most popular ones were, of course, the Becca ones, and of course, MAC Whisper of Guilt, and then Anastasia Beverly Hills had the glow kits that we all know and love and remember. I mean, highlighter just took on a life of its own, and pretty soon, mostly all of us were purchasing all of these highlighters that were basically the same color, but we had to have everybody's formula because everybody's highlighter in our head looked a little bit different. Oh, this one's a little bit more warm toned. Oh, this one is a little bit more rose gold. This one is this, but basically it was all the same color, and when you put it on your cheeks it really looked like the same thing. But it was fun, and definitely highlighter was a huge hyped up thing, and we all still know and love highlighter now, but definitely the hype has died down a lot, and all of us are not running to the store every single time a brand comes out with a highlighter, but you know, that little glimmer in the side of your eye makes you kind of look at it twice still, just because we still love a good highlighter every now and then. And nobody's makeup routine was complete without highlighter blinging off the side of your face, and for a lot of people down the center of your nose looking like Rudolph. The next product that took the makeup industry by storm is Tarte Shape Tape. Everybody had Tarte Shape Tape concealer. I'm talking about whether or not you needed coverage or not, if they had a color that matched you or not. If you're trying to wear any type of makeup, everybody had Tarte Shape Tape and was going goo gaga for it. So when Tarte Shape Tape launched, it changed the way a lot of people were applying their makeup. Because before, people really liked concealer. But when Tarte Shape Tape launched, it changed the game because it gave you all of the coverage that you needed without layering the concealer. It instantly gave you that insta baddie look without having to cake on so much product because it gave you that coverage with one swipe. But I think that people sort of realized that, hey, I might not need that much coverage or this thick of a concealer underneath my eyes because it definitely doesn't work for everyone. But at the moment when it dropped and that hype was surrounding it, people were making it work for them. At that moment, I just saw everybody and their mama using that concealer, including my mama. Yes, my mama was using Tarte Shape Tape concealer. So I will forever remember that era where everybody was using this thick concealer all over their face and walking around speckled. So next, this trend dropped when I was working at the MAC counter. All of a sudden, I got a huge influx of people coming into the counter asking for MAC Whirl lip liner. Now, this was not a new lip liner. The lip liner had been at the counter for years and years and years, but all of a sudden we couldn't keep it on the shelf. So I'm like, what in the world is going on? And it didn't die down. It just kept going and going and going. And then finally we all realized that it was because of Kylie Jenner. She told everybody on social media that the reason why her lips looked the way that they did was because of Whirl lip liner. So this product that had been in MAC's arsenal for probably 10, 15, 20 years now was the #1 product on our SKU, and we could not keep it in stock. And I mean, everybody when they came in there, they were like, can you put Whirl on me? And it didn't matter if it worked for their complexion or not. People were like, Whirl or nothing. And I'm like, MAC has like 50 million other lip liners. Can I show you something else? They're like, no. Whirl. And I mean, it went out of stock. You could not find it. And then finally it went out of stock company wide and we couldn't even order it. And it stayed out of stock for like 6 months until they brought it back. And then they brought it back and that thing sold out again. That's when Kylie Jenner smartened up and she made her own lip kits. But that's what started it, and that thing went massively insane. I could not believe that this color was a color that was selling out like crazy. And prior to her saying that, the only people that would come in and ask for that lip pencil were my older clients who preferred a more demure type lip. So it really goes to show the power of influence. If somebody who is cool at the moment name drops something, how it can sell out. It reminds me of a fun time when I used to work at the MAC counter. So I will never forget the Whirl lip liner craze. Next, speaking of the Jenners and the Kardashians. When Kim Kardashian and Makeup by Mario dropped that selfie of Kim Kardashian baking with the powder on her face, when I say everyone went out to the store and bought this powder, I mean everyone. If you were into makeup at this time, I already know you know what powder I'm talking about. But just in case you don't, the powder that I'm referring to is the Ben Nye Banana Powder. This powder gained so much popularity just from that one picture that they couldn't keep it in stock. We all had banana powder. Every single person that I know, whether you were fair in complexion, whether you had a deeper complexion, middle complected like me, everybody was crazy about banana powder. And that was because it was something different. And Kim Kardashian, she was one of the first celebrities that took us behind the scenes to let us know how the glam happened. Of course, there were beauty books back then. There were a few people who shared tips and tricks like in magazines, but overall, nobody really walked us through the process like she did. So when she showed that process of Mario baking her face with the powder, that was a game changer. I just saw everybody start talking about banana powder, and Ben Nye Banana Powder is a powder that's been around for such a long time. It is a stage powder. A lot of entertainers were using it, but it just wasn't something that was mainstream. But I started to see this powder be available in stores like Ulta, or I would see the powder go out of stock on certain websites, or be like a product that is showcased on a website's homepage that would sell it. But that was just a truly iconic moment in makeup history because it definitely changed the way that the majority of us do makeup today. Because prior to this powder gaining popularity in the 2010s, I really didn't see too many people setting their under eye with loose powders, period. There were a few people who may have used the pressed powder, but overall, people just put on their concealer and went about their life. But when they saw that you could use a powder to set it and brighten, and it decreases the likelihood that your concealer was going to crease, baby, that changed it. So the next game-changing product that trended hard in the 2010s was the Beauty Blender. So I'm not sure if the Beauty Blender was invented in the 2010s, but it definitely gained relevancy in the 2010s because everybody used one. And on social media especially, that was basically the only way that you saw people applying their foundation and their complexion products. I mean, before I was introduced to the Beauty Blender, I very rarely wore liquid foundations and concealer, period. If you all used to watch my channel back in the day, then you would see that all I used to wear was powder. And that's because I never was 100% satisfied with my application. And I'm a makeup artist and I've been professionally trained to use brushes, but on myself, I just always felt like it was too heavy to wear on a day-to-day basis. But baby, when I learned about the Beauty Blender and how it applied the foundation and the complexion products and how it would take away some of it, but it still gave you that coverage and it looked airbrushed, I was sold. But the Beauty Blender revolutionized a lot and it made a lot more people comfortable with using cream or liquid products. You know, the Beauty Blender is really just a bad mother. Shut your mouth. Because let me tell you how bad the Beauty Blender is. How bad is it? The Beauty Blender is so bad that you could be using somebody else's sponge from their brand. And I mean a whole nother brand. And you'll still call it a Beauty Blender. That's a bad mamma jamma if I do say so myself. So that product in and of itself completely changed. And I mean completely changed the way that a lot of us apply our complexion products. So you got to give it up to it. And it definitely had an entire moment through the 2010s. And I believe that moment will continue into the 2020s. Next, we have a series of palettes. And this is the newest thing that I have added onto the list, but I felt like it was deserving because I feel like these palettes have changed the way that the majority of mainstream beauty buying lovers view luxury makeup. And I have to give that up to the Pat McGrath Mothership palettes. These palettes have brought luxury to the forefront. So as a person who has loved luxury products for a long time, my whole life, it has been kind of shunned by the mainstream because most people have been like, why do you spend that much money? What does it do differently than this product does? And I'm like, it's about the experience, guys. And I feel like overall, the majority of people have not gotten it until Pat McGrath. I feel like Pat McGrath has changed the mind frames of a lot of people and made it more readily acceptable to buy and appreciate luxury makeup because her palettes are expensive. It's $125 for an eyeshadow palette. She does give discounts and have sales quite frequently, but still, even with those discounts, it's still a luxury brand and that is a premium price point. So I just feel like Pat McGrath just totally changed the game with that aspect alone. Plus her formula and the packaging and just everything, you can tell that a master made those products. You can tell that she has the experience to back up the products and the expertise to be able to say, okay, I know this formula will work. I know this color story will work. I know this packaging will accent the products, make the experience so beautiful and make people appreciate it so much that they do not mind spending that coin on her products. So I commend Pat McGrath, and Pat McGrath is one of the most iconic makeup artists in the world, and she just so happens to be a black woman. So I love my auntie Pat. I definitely feel like the way that she has presented her brand has changed a lot of brands and it's made the landscape for luxury makeup just be a little bit more valued and accepted by all. So I love it. I feel like she has carved her way into this list and she has earned her bragging rights as one of the pioneers of the makeup industry in the 2010s and before and definitely beyond. So one of the next biggest trends of the 2010s was contouring. My gosh, everybody was shaping their faces out with these contour products. There were contour kits everywhere. We had the cream contour. Anastasia Beverly Hills had the cream contour kits. We had the powder contour kits. Anastasia Beverly Hills again and Kat Von D came through with that. But there were just so many contour kits that everybody just thought that they had to shape their face and be walking around looking like a sculpture every single day of the week. And contour contour just got to be so popular that it was just something that was just readily acceptable. Sometimes at the end of the makeup application, some people didn't even look like themselves. But contour was such a huge thing, and now I very rarely hear anybody talk about it anymore. But I thought that was really cute that we all thought that we wanted to reshape our face and just totally look like different people, because we're all trying to strive to get that optimal face shape. We all want to look like we have an oval shaped face, so we're going to contour this, we're going to cut this out like we were all going on stage every day. Like, where were we going with that? I'm not quite sure. But it definitely had a moment. Next, let's talk about warm eyeshadows. Because even though this trend was sparked in the 2010s, I did not see it stop throughout the entire decade, and I don't think that it's going to stop in this next upcoming decade. I really think that warm eyeshadows are here to stay. We just have updated how we wear warm eyeshadows, but I feel like the starting point of the warm eyeshadow craze began with the Anastasia Beverly Hills palette Modern Renaissance, because when that palette launched, I feel like that was when everybody was like, oh my gosh, this is what we needed all along. We needed these colors. At the time, that palette was super revolutionary because nobody had seen those type colors in a palette before. I had seen those colors here and there from MAC, because MAC had a lot of colors like that they had launched before. They would launch them as single eyeshadows. But placing them all together in a palette, and then it made everybody realize like, oh, pair these colors together and it will make a beautiful look. And then from there, it just grew into everybody wanting warm eyeshadows all of the time. And now, within the past few years, we were doing warm eyeshadows with a pop of color in the palette. So I think that warm eyeshadows have a place, especially in my heart. I love warm eyeshadows. I have golden skin, so warm eyeshadows always look better on me than any other type undertone eyeshadows. But I feel like warm eyeshadows had a surge in popularity, and every single eyeshadow palette for a while was a warm eyeshadow palette that had gold eyeshadows, warm browns, cranberry, reddish type colors. Natasha Denona coming through with the sunrise, sunset, sunny D palettes. Like, everything was about the warm tones. I feel like we still love them, but it's not quite as prevalent as it was a few years ago. So the next product on this list is a product that shook the beauty industry to its core. And this product shook the beauty industry because of its boldness and its daringness to change what needed to be changed a long time ago. And this product is none other than the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Long Wearing Foundation. Now, this foundation doesn't land on this list because of its formula. It doesn't land on this list because it's by Briana, but this foundation lands on this list because diversity and inclusivity were placed at the marketing forefront of a beauty brand. So not only did they just make the shades, but they promoted deeper complexions at the forefront of the brand's launch. There have been brands that have come out with richer complexion shades, so they weren't the first in doing that. But what they were the first in doing was saying that, hey, not only do people with deeper complexions like makeup, but they buy it too. This spawned almost every brand to reassess what they were doing with their brand and with their complexion products, and to expand their shade range. And that's a little something something that you can call the Fenty effect. And that needed to happen for such a long time, because for forever, deeper complexions and richer shades had just been neglected. Sure, there were some brands that made them, like Makeup Forever and MAC, but as far as just placing them at the forefront and celebrating them, it just really had never been done on that large of a platform. And so I truly commend Briana, and she definitely changed the way that the beauty industry is today. And she has made it not only more acceptable to create these shades, but a requirement. Because if you don't, then you won't get the support that you once may have gotten because people were making it work. And this is a moment that will forever be marked in history because it changed the beauty industry for the better. This next product I think of as the most iconic palette of all time. and that is the Urban Decay Naked Palette. So this palette started off this decade. It was launched in 2010 and it was recently discontinued. But this palette started the love and the craze for neutral eyeshadows. And that love and craze will forever continue on because almost everybody loves neutral eyeshadows because you can wear them everywhere. And so what Urban Decay did was they came in and they made a palette with these shades so you can create several different eye looks, but they all were in the same neutral family. So from there, not only did Urban Decay inspire every single brand to create their own variation of this palette, but they also expanded the Naked family, and they to this day are still creating naked palettes. And so this palette was something that I had never seen done before. There had been palettes before, but honestly the palette craze had not started yet. And I feel like this palette is what kicked off the palette craze for one, but it definitely kicked off the neutral palette craze. So that's why I feel like this palette is the most iconic palette of all time. I feel like the true palette game did not start until this palette made its way to the forefront. So Urban Decay, here's a clap, because without you, I feel like palettes would not be the same. Without this palette, I think that the majority of us would still be using single eyeshadows, and that would be a way of life. But because of this palette, I feel like it shifted the way that we look at eyeshadows and the way that we look at how eyeshadow palettes should be curated. So they're trailblazers, and this palette will forever be iconic even though it is no longer available. The very last trend slash products that I want to talk about that truly impacted the 2010s is none other than liquid lipsticks. Yes, we spent a decade with dry ass lips because this was the thing to do. Because liquid lipsticks were just cool. I had never seen anything like that before. It goes on like liquid, but then it dries down matte, and it does not move all day. Oh my gosh, I felt like I needed one in every single color. And so I got one in every single color from every single brand. By the end of 2016, like it had reached an all-time high of people were like, I'm not wearing regular lipsticks anymore. What is a gloss? It's all about liquid lipsticks. People were even putting liquid lipsticks on their eyes as eyeliners. And so liquid lipsticks just really took prevalence in the beauty industry because the biggest sell was that they don't move. And so if you don't have to reapply your lipstick, you can go on about your day. Plus, liquid lipsticks are a lot more bold in the way that they apply and the way that they wear. So you could wear your bold lip without having to worry about if it was going to transfer or not. It was just a cool moment, and when I look back at it, I realized how much that it really wasn't me, because I love lip gloss. I've always loved lip gloss. I sacrificed that for about 4 years, like how the 80s is so synonymous with blue eyeshadow and teased out hair. Liquid lipstick, winged eyeliner, eyebrows on fleek, our highlighter blinging to the gods, and our contour is going to be our 80s moment. I'm already looking back at my pictures like, what was I doing? And that was only 5 years ago, folks. I am so excited to enter into this new decade to see what are the new beauty trends going to be. How is the beauty industry going to push the envelope? What new products are going to be created? So I want you guys to tell me down in the comment section, what was your favorite beauty trend of the 2010s, and what are you looking forward to in 2020s in terms of makeup in the beauty industry? So I look forward to reading what you guys say. I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I will check you all in my very next one, which will be super soon. Smooches. Bye.